Hey everybody, Mr. Wagner here. I have a few people who have finished the Flappy Birds project, and they found a pretty kind of interesting little bug. Let me show you what it is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and run. We're on Flappy 13 here. I'm going to run, and I want you to notice I'm just going to use the clicker, and I'm going to click a whole bunch of times. I'm going to go way up into the sky, way up high. And I want you to notice that I can fly above the top pipes. And then when I let go, it actually takes a little bit of time for it to fall because my gravity is like way, it's like I've gone up into the stratosphere. Oh, look at that, 6. Let's see if he'll eventually come on down. Anyway, I think you can see that this is definitely a problem. So the question is, how do you think that we could solve this? And I thought about this quite a bit. Do I catch it when it's going above the top of the screen? Well, not really, because it's okay if it flies up. But what I also ultimately came up with as far as a solution is I'm going to create like a fake, I don't know what you call it, like an invisible rectangle above all the top pipes. And I'm going to have that rectangle go way the heck up there. Okay, because what I can do then is I can go through and I can just say, okay, well, if I hit that invisible rectangle way up high, then my bird dies and I can fall, right? Okay, so let's work our way through that little bug. By the way, this bug was first discovered by a 5-year-old boy who was playing Flappy Bird that his dad had coded on this. So thank you and for pointing this bug out to me. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's go into the pipe code and work from there. Okay, so we're going to go up here. You know what? We're on Flappy 13. Let me just do a quick file, save as, and we'll make this Flappy 14. Okay, there we go. Let's change that to 14. Okay, so we're going to go into our pipe. And I want you to notice here self.rect, this is the rectangle of our pipe sprite, whether it's an up pipe or a down pipe, okay? So what we're going to do here, here's self-rect, and then here we set the left and the top of that rectangle to whatever the location is. So let's do this. Let's type in self, and again, we're just creating another variable within this class. We'll do self and we'll do up self dot up rect equals self dot rect dot copy, and you always have to put the parentheses on it. Okay, so what we've done now is we've just created a copy of that rectangle. Now we're going to do a couple things to this up rectangle. Well, let's do self dot up rect, okay, dot, and then here's all the different things you can do with a rectangle. We have a left and a top and a width and a Y and blah, blah, blah. But let's set the height of the rectangle to be, I don't know. I mean, we're trying to get this thing to go like really big. So let's just go to 1,000,000. Okay, so that height is going to be, there's no way we can click and get over that rectangle. So I think that'll be good. So we're going to set the up rectangle height to 1,000,000. We are going to say self dot up rect dot bottom, so the bottom of the rectangle. So we're basically shifting this entire rectangle up, okay? So we're going to set the bottom of the up rectangle to be equal to the self dot rect dot top. Okay, so that's the bottom of the invisible rectangle is going to be set to the top of the pipe rectangle. Okay. All right. So that's pretty good. That's in the constructor. But we are also going to need to put that inside our update command, because remember, we're recycling those pipes when they go off to the left side. Okay, so let's put, so basically I'm going to copy these 3 lines because these are the lines we just did. The up rectangle is copying the rectangle, setting the height and setting the bottom. So I'll do Command C, and I'm going to drop this right here. Okay, so here we have the up rectangle is equal to the copy of the rectangle. We're setting the height and setting the bottom. Okay, so that should be pretty good. Is there anything else that we need to do to the update command for the pipe? I do believe we do need to set, right here on line 68, this is where every frame of our game, we move the rectangle to the left. Okay, so if we have this invisible rectangle, then we need to move that to the left also, because that invisible rectangle needs to be moved such that it can hit the bird too. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. So self.uprect.left minus equals 1. Okay, minus equals 1, because we're subtracting 1 from that side. The next thing that we need to do is we need to go down and look at our collision detection, because we need to check to see if Flappy the bird smacks into that invisible rectangle that we'll never see because it's way above the screen. So let's scroll down and see if we can find our collision detection routine. And that would be inside the game loop, right? While game running, that's our game loop. And draw our pipes. Okay, so here's our collision detection. If Pygame sprite collide any Fabian pipes. Okay, now we can't use sprite collide any because we're really looking at a rectangle. We're not looking at a sprite, and we're not looking at a sprite group, which is what sprite collide any uses. Okay, so we need to go through the pipes, and as we go through the pipes, then we need to check to see if we have hit that invisible rectangle. So let's do that here. Okay, so we're going to do a for P in pipes. That goes through all of our pipes. And then let's do something like this. If Pygame.rect with a capital R .collide rect, it's right here. And then we need Fabby.rect. Okay, that's the rectangle of the bird. And then we're checking it on P.up rect. Okay, so that is the rectangle. Now, we also need to only check the pipes that are up. Okay, now remember how we did that is we used that sibling, okay? And we use that sibling to say if we are dealing with an upper pipe or a lower pipe. Now remember, the upper pipe had the lower pipe as a sibling, okay? And the lower pipe had nothing as a sibling. So we can say, and P.sibling is not equal to none. Just like that, Okay. I think that none is a capital none. Okay, now that went away. Notice how P sibling not equal to none is underlined in gray. So what we'll do is we'll hover over this and see it says comparison with none performed with equality operators, okay? And what Python really wants you to do is not use an equality thing when you're dealing with an object. You would say something like P dot sibling is not none, okay? And that actually makes a little bit more sense when you are comparing simple things like numbers. You use equality, inequality operators, greater than, less than, things like that. And if you're comparing objects, then you use is not, okay? All right, so basically that says, okay, we have hit the invisible pipe with Flappy. Now, all the stuff we need to do happens to be the same exact stuff as line 266 down to 277. Basically the same thing as if Flappy hits a pipe. So let me copy that, and I'm going to drop that right in there. Why is pipes underlined? Maybe that's capital. It is. Okay, so always look for those red underlines or the gray underlines. See what you can figure out. And let's go ahead and run that. See what we got. Okay, so if I click, okay, clearly I'm up above, and I hit, should fall. Oh, there it goes. It fell super fast. Okay, so we got a problem there. And as I was going through this lesson, really the problem is you can keep clicking on that bird, and that bird can go like stratospheric, and that's all fine, but he's way up there, and that doesn't make for very good gameplay because the bird is way up in the sky, and you kind of want him to just fall, be done with it, so that way we can restart the game. Okay, so let's go and look at gravity there when we crash into the invisible rectangle. Okay. Also, you know what? I'm going to drop in here a comment, maybe collision with the invisible rectangle. Okay. So let's put that right here. Here's where we've hit. So let's say Flappy dot gravity. Okay. Let's just say that's dot is like 10. Okay. Because we want the bird to be like nose diving in. So remember the nose dive, once your gravity is above about like 7 or something, it's nose diving straight down. And we'll say Flappy dot acceleration equals 0.2. Not sure if we need that line, but we'll leave it in there. And Flappy dot rect dot bottom. Okay, that's the bottom of the Flappy rectangle. We're just going to say that's equal to 0. Okay, so basically, no matter how high the bird was, when he hits the invisible rectangle, he's going to move down to where the bottom of the, where the top of the screen is, and then start falling straight down from there. So let's see how that looks when we run it. So we click, we go way up high, and he falls. Okay. So I think that is actually pretty good. I think that's pretty good. One other thing. Let me run again. And I want you to notice something. Now watch this. See, it's like I can almost still fly along and everything stopped. Okay. Now to me, I guess it's kind of fun. but it's a little bit of a bug. So basically what we want to do is we want to not allow it to flap and do stuff if the base is stopped. Okay, so if the base is stopped, we don't want it to continue on. And where we would do that is where we're catching that mouse click or the space bar. So let's take a look at that real quick. Let's go up here. Let's look at our, okay, so here, if event type is key down and we're dealing with the space or it's a mouse button press, if Flappy is waiting, well, it's not waiting because we're not in that sort of up and down mode. And Flappy is not stopped because we're in the restart code mode. So we're here where it says else, and here this line 243, it looks like we play a flap sound and then we flap. So we need an if statement here. So let's do something like if base dot stopped let's say if not base dot stopped, then we do these two things. Let's scoot that over. That should work. Let's give that a go. Okay. So we're going to go way up high. We're going to hit the invisible thing, and oh, it did not allow me to stop. Okay. So now we're waiting on the restart button. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you found that. Glad you followed along with that. And awesome coding with you all. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.